TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. Mossad Director David Barnea asserts the intelligence agency's unrelenting operational activities to confront the enemies of the State of Israel. The IDF announces that it has targeted over 1,200 terror installations since Phase 2 of Operation Gideon's Chariots in the Gaza Strip. French President Emmanuel Macron claims the so-called West Bank has nothing to do with Hamas, despite data proving otherwise. The people of Israel maintain the strength, creativity, heroism, courage, and determination to secure the nation-state of the Jewish people for generations. In a celebratory event of Israel's Mossad intelligence agency, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu voiced his utmost confidence in the people of Israel despite raging challenges.
I am convinced that the people of Israel, these lion-like people, I am convinced that the people of Israel have the strength, the mental strength, the creativity, the heroism, and the courage and determination to secure our future for us, for our children, our grandchildren, and for the generations that will come after us.
The Israeli leader further addressed the importance of the Mossad intelligence agency, which showcased its qualitative ingenuity that had effectively tilted the scales in Israel's favor during the 2 years multi-front war, including vis-à-vis the existential threats which emanated out of the Islamic Republic of Iran.
For years we have been meeting, and every time I talk to you about the thing that is truly most important, and that is the existential threat from Iran's intentions and its actions to arm itself with nuclear weapons, because then everything could rise in smoke. And here we had to act immediately, because if we had not acted within a year, this threat would be on our heads and would behead the country. And I would point out that you have a huge part in this, that we have reached this moment now, and not before, because I appreciate that the activity that you did, almost no other factor did this. There was of course an important help, but the bulk of the activity was done by the Mossad.
Mossad Director David Barnea, for his part, opened his remarks by pointing out that the celebratory event they were holding took place exactly a year and 2 hours after the Mossad executed its beeper operation, which resulted in Hezbollah's ultimate capitulation.
Exactly 1 year and 2 hours ago, at 3:30 p.m., the Prime Minister ordered the activation of Operation Beeper, after which the IDF offensive plan to defeat Hezbollah and eliminate the threat on our northern border was put into action. The elimination of Nasrallah and the Hezbollah leadership 10 days later simply ended the faint hope that they still had left. The enemy's spirit was broken. In the past year, another historic event was realized, perhaps the greatest of all, Operation Rising Lion. Led by the IDF and in collaboration with the Mossad, we succeeded in dealing a severe and painful blow to an enemy that was working to existentially threaten the State of Israel. The Mossad worked for many years, bringing its comparative advantages to bear. It carried out a series of imaginary operations one after another. The IDF, first and foremost, with its tremendous capabilities, and the Mossad by its side, managed to tip the scales in the war. We won, and we will continue to win.
The Mossad chief continued by emphasizing that the intelligence agency will not relent in the face of lingering dangers. Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, the IDF continues to execute the second phase of Operation Gideon's Chariots, eradicating over 1,200 terror targets since the start of the maneuver.
ביממה האחרונה
Over the past 24 hours, our soldiers, in both mandatory service and reserves, expanded combat in Gaza City as part of Operation Gideon's Chariots 2. I want to remind you, the goal of this operation is the return of the hostages and the dismantling of Hamas rule. The IDF, led by the Southern Command, continue to advance toward the center of Gaza City. The units under the 98th Division are advancing in the western part of the city, the units under the 162nd Division are deepening their activity, and the 36th Division is expected to join the ground operation in the coming days. Units under the 99th Division continue operations in the northern strip, and units under the 143rd Division are operating in defense and offense in southern Gaza. Our units continue to strike terrorist infrastructure and Hamas operatives above and below ground. Since the start of the second phase of Operation Gideon's Chariots 2, we have already struck more than 1,200 terrorist targets.
General Defrin continued by highlighting that in spite of Hamas's efforts to prevent the evacuation of the population of Gaza City southward, the humanitarian corridor continues to operate, with over an estimated 450,000 Gazans already relocating southward, where an abundance of humanitarian aid is accessible to all.
Alongside the fighting, and despite Hamas attempts to violently obstruct civilian evacuations, the IDF continues to enable humanitarian assistance and population evacuation for their protection from Gaza City. The movement southward is being carried out via two main routes, which can be seen on the screen now, the coastal route and an additional evacuation corridor we opened near the Salah al-Din route. To date, we estimate that more than 450,000 of the city's residents have moved southward.
Earlier at 10 Downing Street in London, U.S. President Donald Trump, in a joint press conference with his host, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, stressed that he wants all of the hostages released immediately as a first step to ending the war in the Gaza Strip.
Well, simply, I want the hostages released now, right now, not 1, 2, we'll give you 3 more tomorrow. And, like it's been, I want an end. I want the hostages released. And I think it's going to be okay. But it has been a brutal period of time. But this has been going on for a long time. This is not something that's over the last year, 2 years. But this has been for decades and decades. But we want it to end. We have to have the hostages back immediately. That's what the people of Israel want. They want them back.
Prime Minister Starmer, for his part, pushed back at criticism over his intentions to recognize a Palestinian state, a topic he and President Trump are fundamentally in disagreement over. In contrast, the British Prime Minister did seek to clarify, however, his position with regard to the Islamist Hamas.
Well, let me be really clear about Hamas. They're a terrorist organization who can have no part in any future governance in Palestine. And what happened on October the 7th was the worst attack since the Holocaust. We have extended family in Israel. I understand firsthand the psychological impact that had across Israel. So I know exactly where I stand in relation to Hamas. Hamas, of course, don't want a two-state solution. They don't want peace. They don't want a ceasefire. I'm very clear where I stand on Hamas.
It is important to highlight that Britain, alongside Canada, Australia, and Belgium, are expected to join France for a conference on the sidelines of the annual Leaders Summit of the United Nations General Assembly next week, where the aforementioned countries will announce their recognition of Palestinian statehood. In an attempt to explain his position, French President Emmanuel Macron, in an interview with Israel's Channel 12 News anchor Yonit Levy, claimed that the decision to recognize Palestine has nothing to do with Hamas. Rather, according to Macron, the move aims to block Israel's alleged intentions to alter reality on the ground in the West Bank, which the French leader insists has nothing to do with Hamas either.
West Bank has nothing to deal with Hamas. And when people start saying our answer either to the recognition or to the situation will be to restart settlements in West Bank. This is the best evidence of the fact that this is a political project whose objective is not to dismantle Hamas, but to kill the possibility of a two states and to deny the right of Palestinian people to live in peace in the region.
It is important to emphasize that the French leader is ill-informed vis-à-vis the so-called West Bank. According to the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research, Hamas is regarded as the most popular faction amongst Palestinians at large, with 43% of those intending to vote in future legislative elections whenever that happens, asserting support for Hamas, in contrast to merely 28% voicing support for Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas's Fatah faction. While a Hamas presidential candidate would secure 68%, in contrast, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas merely secured support from 25% of respondents. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. First, an update. TV7 Israel News will not air on Monday in light of Israel's celebration of the eve of the Hebrew New Year, namely Rosh Hashanah. Nevertheless, TV7 Israel will release a special editor's note via our website, social media, and affiliated networks. I will be joined here by Brigadier General Doron Gavish to deepen ourselves on the latest developments. Please continue to pray for the hostages, for the troops now operating in the Gaza Strip, and for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you a Shabbat Shalom u'mevorach v'shana tova, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.